Hello everyone, my name is Tim, and this is the dreaded disclaimer before the show. Yes, this means that someone's fraps in Skype decided not to play nicely, and thus my guest's screen flickers in and out between black and normal, and black and normal, and black. At any rate, once the flickering starts, I cut away to my little technical difficulty screen that I love so much, and when we come back in, her picture has been replaced with one of her headshots that she shall graciously allow me to do, because, quite frankly, this interview is just too good for me to scrap it and re-record like I normally do. So, without any further ado, and even less a bother, I now finally present Tim Talks to Barrett Perlman. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Tim, and welcome to Tim Talks, the show that's only partially a show, but really is just an excuse for me to talk to some of my very talented friends. And I have another one here with me today. She's a very talented actress and stunt woman. She's worked on a bunch of movies, including the upcoming 17 in Life, Jailbait, set to release New Year's Eve, I believe it is, on Netflix, as well as a bunch of other flicks that we'll talk about. Barrett Perlman, welcome to the show.
Hello.
How
Thanks
you doing?
for having me.
Oh, you're
Good.
very welcome.
I'm doing good, actually. How are you?
Not too bad. It looks like a nice sunny day over there.
It is. I mean, I guess on the other side, when is it ever not sunny in California?
Fair
Excuse my
play.
dog for joining us.
No, it has been a balmy, like 45 degrees and gray and overcast, and it's perfect nap weather, but
Right.
Not so great for doing a show. So I've got all my lights here set up. It's weird. I've kind of been able to adapt some knowledge, and like I have a bouncer card set to a light that faces the other way, and
Oh, nice.
stuff like that to make it work. So that way I'm not all
Right.
blueberried by my screen.
I just sit near windows and hope for the best.
Yeah. And so, as we talked about in the intro to the show, you are a stunt woman as well as an budding actress now, and you've worked in a bunch of different movies. Congratulations for that.
Thank you so much.
And tell us what some of the projects you've done.
Oh, gosh. So I guess my first foray into stunts was on a movie called Shark Night 3D.
That's actually the movie we met on.
Yep. And so that was terribly exciting. I was a professional wakeboarder for about 6 years before that. And
Yeah.
one of my wakeboard friends was on it doing stunts, and I guess they needed someone else to drive the wakeboard boat to double for the lead actress. And they asked him if he knew anyone, and he suggested me. So,
Because I believe, if I remember right, in the story, it's supposed to be her lake house and stuff. So her character would be the one driving the boat. It makes
Right.
sense that they would need
a seasoned boat professional kind of thing.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they came as close as they could.
And so from there on out, it was just kind of like, I was like, oh my God, stunts is an occupation? Like, who knew? This is so cool. Like, this is probably what I should have been trying to do my whole life. Like,
Right.
do crazy shit and not get hurt.
And so then where did that take you?
From there, gosh, I had just moved to LA. So from there, I did some bicycle stunts on Bones next for a couple days. They had an
That's the show
episode.
with David Boreanaz.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And it was actually one of my favorite TV shows at the time. So it was terribly exciting.
Right.
And just got to work with a bunch of my BMX buddies on it. A BMXer dies in the episode. So
Oh, nice.
that was cool to ride BMX. And I've since gotten to do some more bicycle stunts. A film I did bicycle stunts on, actually, I'm going to the screening of tonight that's called Bicycle, A Way of Life.
Nice.
And got to run from the cops on a bike on that one.
That's always got to be exciting. It's interesting because when you do stuff like that, it's not just, the thrill of actually doing it for real in real life in those kind of situations. If like for some reason you were running from the cops on a bike, that's one kind of adrenaline. But when you're doing it to be perfectionist on camera, that's a completely different ballgame.
It is. It's definitely crazy. I mean, some of the things they want you to do, and you kind of go through it together with the stunt coordinator and the director, and you kind of walk the path they want you to go, and then they're like, could you do that? Could you do this? And then you assess, well, if we did that, there's a much higher chance the bike will break. Okay, well, we only have one bike for the day, so we can't break the bike. Like,
Right.
So then it's like, all right, jumping off a 4-foot ledge onto the ground is now cut from the run. And, you go through a bunch of other stuff, and you just never know what you're going to get. Like on this particular film, I'm very used to riding BMX bikes or like full-size mountain bikes. And they hand off to me like one of those fixie kind of bikes. And with like the backwards handlebars and everything. So like your hands are literally here instead of your normal, grip distance. And you're on this bike that only tops out at one speed, and like.
And they're not very sturdy.
No,
either.
and the tire is like
exactly
this wide.
exactly.
There's no tread on it. and they're like, you're gonna go from the street through these rocks, and then you're gonna ride on the gravel into like this dirt parking lot, and then jump off the ledge, and you're just like,
No, I'm not.
cool, yeah, let's see how that goes.
And you want me to face away from camera when I do it? Is that what you're?
Yeah, that's always it too. They're like, all right, you're gonna take this right turn real sharp, but we need you to look to the left, and you're like, I would, of course, I would not want to see where I was going on this extremely dangerous turn.
Yes, that's exactly why I want to be looking away from where I'm going.
Exactly.
You should get just like a little mirror that you can hold right here, just so that way you are still able to look away, but you can see perfectly fine.
Right. You learn to do fun things like try to get your hair in front of your face so you can like look through your hair at where you're going. Much harder as a guy, as I'm assuming.
Yeah.
So
unless you're playing somebody who's like supposed to be a magician, I think magician movies are becoming more of a trend nowadays. So you got the longer hair in those movies, so maybe you can get away with it. And so, what are some of the actual movies that you've gotten to work on as an actress now?
Oh gosh, some great fun ones. I just did a movie called Flock of Judes with Chris D'Elia, and just a small role in it, but I played a supermodel of all things, named Andrea.
Typecasting? Is that what we're looking at here?
You know, I didn't think so. I was like, I have tattoos. How are you calling me a supermodel right now? But that's cool.
Yeah.
What else? I just wrapped on 17 and Life Jailbait a couple months ago. And that comes
now that looks really interesting. I hope I'm able to play a little snippet of the trailer down there. I copyright all that stuff. I don't want to rock the boat with the new waves that just came out and stuff like that. But I want to talk about that for a minute because that does look really cool, and that's coming out on Netflix.
Thank you. Yeah. Oh gosh, that's probably one of my favorite roles I've played to date. I played Jo, who is kind of the second in command of this prison gang, and she's fucking crazy. Like, she's got not very many nice bones in her body. She kind of just like regulates the yard and stuff. And this girl, Anna, who is played by Sarah Lane, she gets locked up kind of unfortunately through an accident. And it's just like, we've kind of got it out for her. And I throw down with her like 2 different times in the film. And it's all like, just, yo, bitch, like, what the fuck do you want? Like, but
I love it.
A little more serious.
Yeah. No, I love it. I love stuff like that. It's fantastic. I look forward to watching it. I think it's really neat that Netflix is getting involved in the production side of things and actually, or the distribution side of things, and actually getting behind some of these smaller projects, because you wouldn't have seen something like that be distributed otherwise.
Yeah, exactly.
Or at least not near as easily.
Well, I know the production company that we did it through, called The Asylum. They have a long-standing relationship with Netflix and with Redbox, and they released that film Sharknado a couple months ago. So this is actually The Asylum's kind of first foray into something real and gritty and filled with drama that is well acted, and not filled with B-movie special effects kind of thing.
Right. Yeah. No, and so then this is revolving around that character as she tries to just make it in this all women's prison.
Exactly. Yep. I mean, poor Sarah. Like, she gets her ass kicked so many times in this movie, and I'll give it to her. She took one for the team all the time. Like, there's a scene where her stepfather slaps her, and she really let the guy slap her, and he, for some reason, slapped her really fucking hard, and she like blacked out for a second. But so that's like a real slap in the movie. And sometimes I'm like, Sarah, you know, like, I do stunts. Like, we don't really hit each other.
Well, I mean, if it's just one time for the camera, sometimes you have to do what the roll calls for. And if it involves driving a boat over a dock while it explodes, or if it involves getting slapped in the face so hard that you black out, God, I can only imagine. I mean, look, there are some things that I'll do for camera because I have no shame, and you know, it's fun. Ultimately, in the end of the day, when you look back and people are like, "Oh, you actually got slapped for that," that actually makes you feel pretty good because you're like, "That's why you do it." Yep.
I look at some of the other things in that movie too, like the fight between her and I. You know, she comes after me to prove something. And I end up, you know, tackling her to the ground and just wailing into her. And there was a time, you know, we have it all set up for stunts. So at one point it was kind of I'm beating a sandbag on top of an apple box.
Right.
And I'm just wailing on her like back and forth, and the sandbag moved, and so my next punch went straight onto the wood apple box. And just in the moment, you're like, oh,
use it, use it, use it, use it. Oh God. Oh, I can only imagine.
Much more pissed.
and see, that accurately brings back some bloody knuckles.
Yep. By the end of that scene, we were like, is that your blood or is that my blood? Like, whose blood is on my hands?
That's always the best.
Yeah. So just tons of fun on that movie, and everyone was so talented. And I had worked with a couple of them before on a film called Bikini Spring Break, which is also on Netflix. So it was great. It was great to be back with, people you enjoy working with.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And then there's this other movie that you just wrapped on, actually, Bloody Slumber Party.
Yes. Bloody Slumber Party is kind of a horror about a group of girls at a slumber party, a 20-something-year-old slumber party. So drinking's involved. But they tell scary stories, and slowly but surely, as I pretty much piss each one of them off, we realize that there's a killer in the house who has actually started killing us off one by one.
Fantastic.
Yeah, so that one's really cool too, actually. A big horror actress is kind of associate producing it, and she's got her little role in it. And the guy who plays the killer is a big international model who's currently doing a campaign for the new Playboy fragrance. And so a lot of little interesting characters.
No, it's fantastic. She's sitting perfectly over your shoulder.
Yes. He supervises everything that I do.
Exactly. So that's really cool. And so you've gotten to do some really great stuff. And
Yeah.
that's all been from the marketing networking that you've been able to do from that first job on Shark Night.
Pretty much. I was acting a bit in Florida before I moved out to LA. So actually the director on Bloody Slumber Party, he is responsible for some of my first credits as an actress when we worked in Florida together.
Wow.
And now he's back up in New York and Jersey, and this is his first feature that he's put together in a couple years.
Wow.
Yeah.
And so then how would somebody, say, trying to go about get started and, get their SAG card and get the qualifications necessary, how would they try and get to where you are?
For stunt work? Or
Yeah.
for acting?
Or both. Why not both?
For acting, oh my gosh, there's this, great little loophole now in SAG called the New Media Agreement, where, if someone else in SAG is on it with you, they can Taft-Hartley you for giving you a speaking role. So you don't have to get 3 waivers or something where you do 3 SAG jobs and then you qualify to be a member.
Yeah, I think that sounds about right.
Yeah, so I got so lucky on Shark Night. They Taft-Hartley'd me.
Nice.
And I was just incredibly fortunate. But the same thing for stunts. You kind of build your way up, especially you want to have a specialty of some sort, something you're either an expert at or a professional at.
Like wakeboarding for you.
Exactly. It may not be a necessary skill in Hollywood at all. Most of my stunt jobs now are riding a bicycle, doing fights, playing with weapons, falling down. But as long as people have that one thing that they kind of know you for, they'll continue to bring you through more and more doors. And especially in stunts, it's all about networking and who who wants to hire you, who wants you to be around on set with them. So,
of course. And then there's that aspect of being a team player and wanting to be involved and not necessarily be in the way, but be involved in the production.
Exactly. Are you willing to help carry pads? Are you willing to help even if it's not your scene to make sure that everyone's being safe? When I did high falls and stuff, there's always got to be extra stunt people around to make sure that you don't fall off the side of the bag or, God forbid, something go wrong when you leave the platform, that if you are going to miss the bag, someone's there to help push
immediately
back on at the last second.
Yeah, I like stuff like that. And I imagine it kind of breeds this camaraderie as well, where you all support each other and you're all watching each other's stunts and you're like, oh man, that was really cool when you fell 30 feet and didn't hurt yourself. And you're like, oh yeah, that was great. I loved where you got yanked back with this giant vest that you have to simulate, explosions going off behind you. And that was really cool. You kind of build this rapport.
You do, you really do. And it's great to watch people grow. you tend to befriend a lot of people at your same level in the beginning, and then you kind of all start growing together, and that's like really cool to watch and go through with each other. And
Yeah.
yeah, it's exciting. It's a great like brotherhood in a sense for chicks too.
Yeah, and I imagine that's something that's becoming a little bit more prevalent as well, because you're getting to the point now where you're getting a lot more female action roles with your Katnisses and your, I mean, going back to like Ripley and Fifth Element and now the Resident Evil movies. And I mean, you're starting to see the rise of the female action hero again.
Oh yeah, one of my heroes, Zoe Bell. She's been at that for years. She was the double for Xena. She was the double for Uma Thurman and all the Kill Bills. So I actually got to meet her a couple months ago, which was terribly exciting for me because people always tell me I remind them a little bit of her also. So it was like this great, like.
So you do still get starstruck?
I don't know about starstruck. You know, it was one of those, oh, hey, like, it's so great to meet you. I've heard so much about. We have tons of mutual friends in common, but she's just so successful that she's a little hard to track down. And but yeah, she herself has been paving the way for women so much, just being a really great advocate, being a really great team player, and then, of course, being exceptionally talented at what she does.
It never hurts.
Exactly. You know, if you can fall down and get back up, and even if it stings a little bit, be like, no, I'm fine. Like, all right, you got potential.
Now, I was lucky enough that I took some stage combat classes and things of that nature while I was still in undergrad. Are there any classes that you were able to take? Are there any resources like that you've been exposed to?
There are. You know, it's just not quite worded the same way as it is, I guess, in other parts of the country. Like, we don't really have a stunt class per se out here in LA, but the more stunt people you get to know, the more they'll steer you in the right direction. Like, there's a place that everyone trains here called JAM, which is short for Joining All Motion. And there they have some classes that are taught by stunt coordinators about falls and spins and how to use your body. And then some days they'll do rigging and stuff and wire work. But unless you know specifically what that class is called and who teaches it and why you should take it, it's not like stunt class. Like
right. It becomes a little bit harder to kind of find your way through that if you don't know exactly what you're looking for.
Exactly. And some stunt coordinators do their own class. One that I'm close with does a class every Saturday religiously. And that's where I've learned how to do high falls. I've been able to hone a bit of my fight skills. I keep missing him on days that he's doing wire work and rigging because that's something I want to get really into.
Right.
But yeah, there's places to train. You just kind of have to be invited there. And like once you're in, you're in. And anyone will help you.
So you've done a lot of work in front of the camera. Have you ever considered getting behind it, or is that not something you want to do?
Before we dig into that question, you're frozen.
Ah, nuts. Okay, that's fine. Just a second. Better?
Yeah.
Okay. So you've done a lot of work in front. Damn it. Try that again. You've done a lot of work in front of the camera. Have you kind of ever considered getting behind it, doing any work in editing, production, directing, anything like that?
I have, and I actually do. Currently, I'm actually working at a company that's doing a new reality show for MTV. So I'm working behind the scenes on that.
Really?
I have edited also. I've edited reality pilots. I was even an assistant editor on a reality show for a season. I have my own production company, Moxie Theory Entertainment.
Wow.
And we produced a short film that we won an award as a woman filmmaker for, so that was kind of cool.
Yeah.
And we're just developing other content. I've got, 2 TV series I'm kind of developing from the ground up, and some feature films that I'm working with people on, 2 of which are based around wakeboarding, which is so appropriate. And then just some other ones I believe in that will probably end up having me attached to act as well. So I mix it up.
Yeah, I'm about to say, you are really just hitting every benchmark then.
Yeah, I try. It's one thing about LA. You gotta be able to do it all, and you gotta be able to hustle hard.
Yeah.
So if you can be on set one day, helping with production and producing, and then the next day maybe you're editing for something else, and then the whole next week you're stunt doubling, like it's cool.
It looks a lot more impressive.
I guess, yeah.
Especially when people kind of list it all out like that, and then they look at you and you just seem like a regular, well-adjusted person, and you're like, how does this happen? It kind of blows their mind out there, and suddenly you're just hired everywhere.
Oh yeah, I have this 6 foot by 3 foot dry erase board in my home office, and it's just packed with to-do lists all the
Yeah,
time.
absolutely. I mean, I've got this one here that
Mm,
it's got a calendar over here on this side, and then a
uh-huh.
nice to-do list that gets filled up on that side. I
I see
love it.
that. That's a
I
good
love it.
little system you got there.
I mean, it just kind of keeps you on task more than anything. It might not
Exactly.
necessarily keep you doing the right things, but it keeps you
Mm-hmm.
doing things, at least related to what you have to do.
Mm-hmm. So true. But, like today has been crazy. I had personal stuff to do in the morning, and now I'm here doing this interview with you. And then tonight we're going to the screening of the film I did stunts in, and then tomorrow's an audition, and then Monday night is like a benefit at the comedy club to see a bunch of comedians for the Wounded Warrior Project, and
It
it's
just
like
never stops. But
never stops.
that's the life that we hope for.
Exactly.
You know,
So blessed, truly blessed.
when you're 13, 14 years old going, no, these people that are inside this magic box are actually kind of important. I
Hmm.
want to be one of those people. Well, that's what it entails. It
That's right.
entails, unfortunately, being popular enough that everybody wants your attention at
But
all times.
and it's much appreciated.
Yeah.
Never take it for granted.
Yeah, it absolutely is. But it's also, I mean, you also are allowed 5 seconds to just realize, yes, it's going to be a lot of demanding emotional work.
Hmm.
You're not going to be swinging a hammer away breaking rocks, but you're going to be metaphorically doing so when you're standing out there having to answer the same question for the 100th time.
It's true. Oh, it
How
even
long did it
reminds
take you to clean off all that blood? God, not as long as it's going to take to wash away the shame.
me.
Yeah.
So true. I think back to some of the days on Bloody Slumber Party, and just working yourself up into being so scared and to fearing for your life, and tapping into what that really feels like for you.
Hmm.
And then having to call cut, and then the next scene is like, all right, I have personally wrangled this person, and now it's like, all right, I want to kill you now, like
Yeah.
switching that in that mode. And there were times I'd call home and I'd be like, I don't feel well today. Like I feel everything's weird inside of me. Like I'm
Did you
living with these emotions. And
were you did you take any like acting class or anything like that in college, or did you just kind of dive in once you were able to get it?
not in college. I did a lot as a kid.
Hmm.
Like between the ages of like 11 and 13, I was very into acting. So I took a lot of classes growing up. I did a lot of theater and musical theater. And then it kind of came to the point where my mom was like, all right, I lived halfway between Orlando and Miami my whole life.
Hmm.
So it was like 2 hours each way to get to any audition.
Oh, you gotta love that. I mean,
Yeah.
just stuck in the middle of a rock and a hard place.
And my mom was just like, I don't know any other kids that want to do this. So when you can drive, you can do it.
Hmm.
And it took me until I graduated college again to start acting, and just fell in love with it and started
Yeah.
training again. And now I have a great coach out here, Craig Wallace, who's his technique is amazing. I've also been training at Anthony Mindel's, and I love it there also. So you just kind of got to find what works for you. Like some people are very method, some people are very embrace the shit you got going on today kind of thing.
I was going to ask. That was actually my next question. Good segue. Are you more of the method actors? Do you bring it with you off set, or do you kind of stay in the moment and leave it?
It really depends on the character. When I
Hmm.
shot Jailbait, it was it took me a long time to shake that character,
Yeah.
because that one was one also that was so very comfortable for me to just be a thug. And I would show up to set unmakeuped, and they would be like, all right, you're good. Like
Perfect.
this is never what you want to hear as an actress, right? And then after 11
Like,
days.
be like if Charlize Theron was going in to play Monster, and they're just like, "Yep, go ahead."
Exactly, you look good. We were going to put bags under your eyes, but they're already there.
Oh.
So I kind of just got into that. Every day I would go to set in my skater shoes with my backwards hat, listening to my gangster rap music, and then I would leave and like put my hat back on, put my shoes back on, and listen to more gangster
Perfect.
rap.
Perfect.
It took me like 2 weeks to stop swearing so much, and like to bring it
Well,
back to
I
a
mean,
nice place.
I imagine it's a little bit different when you got, say, like, you hear stories about, like, Daniel Day-Lewis walking around the set of Lincoln and saying, you can only call me Mr. Lincoln and stuff like that. But
Right.
when you've got a character that's probably a little bit closer to the way you actually are,
Yeah.
I
I think,
imagine that's a little bit tougher to shake.
yeah, it can be. Jailbait was so fun. Obviously, it was that one side of me that, was kind of almost my wakeboarder side for so
Yeah.
long. But Bloody Slumber Party was very much, he actually wrote the character with me in mind.
Mm-hmm.
So it was a lot easier in between takes to just be myself and, be happy go lucky or be sarcastic or be bitch or, whatever just came because then the next scene was just kind of generally me, anyways.
Right. Well, yeah, I can see that would be a hell of a lot easier because, exactly like you said, the writer wrote it for you in mind. So what better set of skills to bring to the table than just be you?
Right. But it's all about
That's what they
tapping into
paid for.
those things that are honest for you. The
Yeah.
fear has to come from an honest place. The switch of all of a suddenly, well, now I'm going to kill you is got to come from an honest, believable place. And,
Right.
Sometimes digging up that stuff, you have to tap into things that you had put to bed years ago. And now you're like, oh my God, I got to deal with that, and then you spend the next 3 days crying because you're like, I didn't want to
try
think
to
about that
repress it again and cut out that little piece of tumor later.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So that's kind of my method.
It's a dangerous place to go sometimes, what you have to call for in acting, to call in that moment when you are surrounded by no shorter than 13 cameras, lights, or people at any given time of each. Mm-hmm. And you have to be sad because your mom just died, who's not really your mom.
Yeah.
I imagine you have to dig a little deep, and I want to get there at some point. I've been working there a lot, and in the meantime, you do stuff like this to get your way there. I love doing my little video productions for YouTube. I enjoy doing the shows that I'm able to do and the editing that I'm able to do. And
nice.
Like we were talking about earlier, when you have to kind of have this well-rounded set of skills that you have, right. I'm able to take this channel and be like, no, this is me doing everything. And you're able to take your production company and go, no, this is me doing everything.
Yep.
And it's kind of a lot better than any degree you can have right now.
It's so true, especially in entertainment. There's no experience or no teaching that you can get quite like by learning by doing. Mm-hmm. I know my first film, I learned so much about contracts, the SAG contracts, what it was that someone went through on the other end of the paperwork before I got it, had to sign it, and locations and locking that stuff in, and what happens when your lead actor bails the night before, and you're just
I remember we were starting filming Shark Night, and there's that opening montage where the guy and the girl are out in the lake or whatever, and she's like about to take her top off, and the shark gets her, and the guy comes out, and he's like, "Oh God, Shark Night!" That thing.
Yeah.
The guy didn't show to set. He was late by like 2-3 hours, and we were getting ready to shoot the scene with me being that guy, which was going to be awesome because that was going to be Insta SAG card.
And Shark Night was no small budget. He would have been offered no small day rate.
And unfortunately, the guy showed up like 15 minutes before camera roll.
Wow. I had no idea.
Yeah, no, that was like day one of going to work on that. I got to work as a stand-in for, I'm sorry, skipping ahead in that story for those who are just joining us there, and which was a lot of fun. But generally speaking, when you're working a smaller job like that, you kind of have to be on watch, kind of like a vulture, when you're just waiting for something to go wrong, kind of. Hopefully no harm will ever come to anyone, but you never know when I might be able to step in someone's place.
When an actor just won't show.
Exactly. Exactly. And, there was never like he got caught in traffic or anything like that, so no one really knows why he was late or contract dispute, whatever it was.
True.
God, that was that close, man.
I hate that when you catch those by the wayside and you're just like, oh, yeah? Oh yeah, that's cool. Yeah. And then like
Yeah,
they're
you
about
gotta
to
play
roll,
it
and then all of a
totally
sudden
cool.
someone's like, no, 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 no.
God, that movie was so much fun.
Oh, it was. I met one of my best friends on that set.
Oh yeah,
Do you remember Sinqua, who
I
played
do.
he was the one who was doing the wakeboarding in it. He was one of the leads.
I got to be his body double during a scene.
What?
Yeah, there's a
Shouldn't have known
specific
it's, like,
scene.
white, and he's.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, totally black. Yeah.
Did they airbrush you too?
No, what actually happened was it's the tight shot of just like here to here when you
Okay.
can't see the bottom hand. It's at my torso of his like bloody stump going down through the boat, down through the hole in the bottom of it, and into the lake, which the shark smells.
Ooh.
It's my torso that they're shooting there because we had to shoot that on land because I think Sinqua was actually going and shooting an actual scene, and you know the B-roll got a B crew was shooting that on on the boat that was on a trailer in the parking lot. So I got to be a body double for a black guy on a lake that wasn't a lake. I mean, everything about that scene is a lie.
That's hilarious. I love that movie so much.
I really, really do. It was so great. I remember we did the final scene where like the hero is giving the heroine CPR to bring him back to life. Spoiler alert. And they cut down to the dog's feet as the dog is, or excuse me, her feet as the dog is licking her feet, trying to revive her because it's a good doggy.
Right.
And the hands that are giving her CPR during those scenes are me. And you can tell because I've got this big old giant freckle right here in the middle of my forearm that you can plainly see on camera that the main actor did not have.
No way.
And like, I'm sitting there trying to give her CPR and I'm acting it, you know, I'm like stage acting it where it's like decent. And she's like, no, actually push down on my chest. You're not going to hurt me. It is fine. And I'm like, seriously, if you tell me to actually do it, I'm going to break a rib because that's
Right.
what you're supposed to do.
Oh yeah, I'm CPR certified, as I'm assuming it sounds like you are too.
At least, well, I know enough to know you don't actually want me to do that.
Right.
I'm doing the best that I can.
Because there go your ribs.
Yeah, I'm doing the best that I can here to make sure that you stay alive.
Right.
Through the shooting of this scene where you're supposed to come back to life.
And not have a broken rib in the process.
Yeah. Oh, God, I love it though. I really do.
It's such movie magic. I thought it was so ironic to shoot that movie because I'm terrified of sharks.
Uh-huh.
And so wakeboarding for me, sharks being in a lake is like legitimately one of my worst nightmares. And I remember,
especially in a dark lake in the middle of Louisiana where it might not be implausible that there's something in some of those saltwater lakes down there. I love your face right now. It's just amazing. I know what you mean. It's gotten to me ever since I love playing video games, and it's gotten to me ever since like Mario 64, where you were playing this water level and you can't see anything past like 10 feet.
Yep.
Just
like Super Mario.
It gives me actual legitimate anxiety just
Oh,
thinking
yeah.
about stuff like, and oh my God.
Well, and I don't know, maybe luckily for me, I actually didn't do Sarah's underwater stunts with the shark and stuff. I might have had a minor heart attack.
Oh man. In that cage?
She actually did a lot of her own stunts on that one.
Yeah. Yeah, she did. Shout out to Sara Paxton. I
Yeah.
mean, seriously, daughter of Bill Paxton.
Oh, is she?
She really is.
I had no idea.
Yeah. And I mean, absolutely incredible actress. She did
she's
a lot
great.
of her own stunts out in 30-degree water in the middle of October. I mean, they were a fantastic group of kids, our age people,
Yeah.
who came out there and shot that movie. I mean, they powered through it. It was not fun all the time.
Especially once it started to get cold at the end of the shooting.
I remember they had to bring out a hot tub just for you guys who got in the water to get in afterwards so you wouldn't have a hypothermia.
Well, it was nice that there was a hot tub there on set too at that house.
It was weird. There were times where we had to worry about both hypothermia and hyperthermia. I remember one of the PAs actually fainted from hyperthermia on
my
set,
gosh.
and then we had to have the hot tub because it was like 12 degrees.
Yep.
I love it. I love
It
it.
was
That's
all over the board.
the thing that I miss so much about working on legitimate movies because you're out there shooting in whatever you're having to shoot in. You never know what kind of conditions are going to be that day.
Right.
And you just have to make the best of it. And that can lead to some of the best horrific stories
Oh, yeah.
ever.
Oh, one of my favorites is, I was pretty familiar with wakeboard boats and the amount of weight they could hold at the time. And so I was always very concerned with what kind of camera rig are you trying to put on the back of this boat right now? Because they would put it on the back of the boat and then, the cast and myself would be kind of more up front.
Right.
And I'm familiar with how to weight a boat, and you kind of have to evenly distribute the front and the back. And if you put too much in the back, you're not going to get on plane. And then there's this great thing called a rooster tail that shoots out from the back and will come back up over the back of the boat if you don't know how to weight a boat.
Right.
And there was one time I was like, hey guys, how much does that camera rig weigh? Like, and it came out that maybe it weighed like 2,000 pounds. And I was like, well, this boat can handle that. However,
I don't know if the front of the boat can handle that because we're only like 500.
Yeah, well, you're also putting like 6 people in the boat with it to be filmed, and you're not putting any weight in the front. And it's one of those really expensive stereo 3D cameras. And I was like, guys, this isn't going to work well. And they're like, just do it. And I kind of expressed it to the stunt coordinator. And he was like, well, they seem to think it's fine. I was like, okay, I'm going to step back then. And sure enough, we went to take off from the dock. And I got like up to 9 miles an hour, couldn't get any faster. And the whole rooster tail just came spraying up over the camera. And, they had covered a lot of it with a little bit of plastic, but not the lens. And then we spent the next 4 hours with them drying off the cameras. Couldn't shoot anything.
And those cameras, I mean, it's not just one regular movie camera. It is 2 of them that are stacked one perpendicular to each other with a mirror that goes in the middle of it so that it can shoot kind of offset from each other.
Right.
And that is really expensive equipment.
It's so expensive. That's why I felt so bad. But I was like, tried to warn you guys that this wasn't going to work out. And
oh my
you
God.
didn't want
but
to
they don't listen. No, not at
That's
all.
why would the boat girl know about boats?
God. But you know what? Ultimately, that's the best part of it. You're not responsible for it. So you get just to go, I told you.
Yep, we got the next 4 hours off.
Yeah, right off. And that you get to go sit back in the trailer, back at the crafty place and hang out for a minute, but you don't really get to go anywhere.
Exactly, especially when you're in a place called Uncertain, Texas.
Yeah, God. Oh, that was fun. I remember there was a day, were you there when it got bombarded by the mayor of that town? The set got, apparently the mayor of Uncertain, Texas took objection to us hanging some Halloween decorations around the bog where we were shooting.
What?
And then proceeded to try and rip them down from a boat. And then tried to get away on the boat after the park rangers who would have been trying to arrest him. I don't remember exactly what they would have been called.
The park rangers were trying to arrest the mayor?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Awesome.
Apparently, and you can't make this up, apparently he then gets in a jet ski and tries to take off even faster.
Only in Uncertain, Texas. And for those of you guys who are watching, this is the same place where if you watch True Blood, the house that's on the stilts in the marsh in the opening sequence, that it is in Uncertain, Texas. I had to drive
we were
by that
shooting
every day
in front
on the
of that
boat.
house.
Yeah. It's
It
that
was
kind of town.
Amazing.
Oh
it
my
was
God.
absolutely amazing. And all I could do was just keep from bursting out with laughter.
It's hilarious.
It would have gotten me immediately escorted from this scene, which obviously I could not leave. So I just did my best acting I have ever done in my lifetime and kept it completely stone-faced. Just so I could have this story to tell later. It was astounding. And really the best part of it is it was like a couple of little ghosts. They were maybe 4 feet high,
No way.
and a couple of pumpkins and nothing even close to Satanist or, objective in any way.
That is too funny. That whole location was just a hoot.
It really was. And then we shot, the main house that we shot at was, I think, like the sheriff of Long Lake. That was his house.
Oh, no
And
kidding.
they built that 2-story extension that you can see outside that doesn't really have an inside part to it.
The boat shed?
Yeah. No. There's like a fake second floor that you can see on the outside shots of the house.
That wasn't real? No way. This is what I get for showing up to set like a month into shooting.
Well, I'm also incredibly nosy and completely unafraid to ask every question that comes to mind. And so I'll find the one person who's willing to talk to me on set, which there's always one,
Of course.
and ask every question I could possibly think of because I want to know these things.
Right.
But apparently, yeah, it was part of the contract that they would just completely rebuild parts of the house and add on to it for effect, under the caveat that they would put it back exactly the way it was when they left. And so there were a lot of fake walls and fake hallways and stuff like that, which were really cool to kind of see behind and look behind stuff like that. Because I've done set building and stuff like that for actual stage works, but I've never done anything real. You know, I mean, the thing about a movie set is it's kind of got to be pretty real, or at least real enough for camera.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And that's a level of detail that you kind of don't have to get away with in stage because you're far away. You know, you don't have to put up actual wallpaper. You can just paint a wallpaper pattern.
Yep.
And so it was really neat to get behind there and see some of the behind the scenes stuff and how they completely rearranged the inside of a house.
God, that's great. I mean, I agree with you. I've heard of them doing that on sound stages. I've seen it on sound stages, but I've never seen it on an actual, like, someone else's house that they're just renting for, like, I mean, I guess they must have rented that house for like 2 months.
Yeah, I know, which couldn't have been cheap because it wasn't exactly a small chunk of land.
I mean, it was in the middle of nowhere, but
one of the first videos that I made, I had this little flip camera about yay big that I took a shot of like the outside of the house and the lake that we shot on and stuff like that. So I'll put that down there so people can see. But it was gorgeous, man. I love shooting on that set. So that's actually a pretty good place to start rounding out the show. As I am wont to do, I've always enjoyed the Inside the Actor Studio method of ending on a questionnaire.
Cool.
And so I, too, have a reappropriated version of the Proust Personality Questionnaire, and it goes a little something like this. Barrett, what's your favorite word?
Fuck. Can I say that on your show?
No, absolutely. Absolutely. You're jumping the gun a little bit because I've got the favorite curse word question later on. But no, I love it. It's my favorite word as well. It's so multifaceted.
It is. What is it? I think it's officially the word with the most, what do you call it? Like uses. Like it's a noun, it's a verb, it's an adjective, it's an adverb. Like it does more than any other word in the English language.
Yep. And
I use it 1,000,000 times a day.
And it just sounds so good coming out of your mouth, too. It feels right.
It really fucking does.
And what's your least favorite word?
I'm again with the curse words, but maybe no, it's not a curse word. I don't know. That's a good one.
It's okay to not have one.
Maybe onomatopoeia. That word's always been so pointless to me.
Right. Fair enough. I mean, the words already describe themselves. Why have a word to describe words that describe themselves? That seems redundant.
It does.
What sound or noise do you love?
Sound of noise?
Sound or noise. Sorry, I have a cold.
I love the sound of cats purring. I used to have a cat growing up, so I would always fall asleep to my cat purring.
Oh, yeah. Those are nice. I have one that used to sleep on my chest
Aww.
and would just like nose to nose with me.
They're
cute.
They're great.
And which one do you hate?
Babies crying.
Yeah.
I actually hear that one is also the most hated sound in the world.
What hero or heroine do you identify with the most?
Catwoman.
And what villain or villainess?
Maybe Poison Ivy. She was sexy, but lethal.
And what would be your superpower if you had the choice?
Oh, man. I've been going back and forth on this one. I think flying. Flying would have to be it.
Okay.
I dream about flying all the time. So I actually know how it's done. I know where it comes from in my body, at least in my dreams.
I have dreams about running really fast.
Ooh.
But it's usually like on all fours, you know? And so it's a lot of like jumping off of buildings and on the sides and stuff like the very kind
Like
of
parkour.
yes, yeah, kind of, yeah, very much so.
Very
Uh,
cool.
I agree. It's interesting. You kind of have that. It's almost like you felt it before. You have that tactile memory.
Is that what it's called?
I think so. When you kind of remember how something feels.
Yeah.
But
Because
it's
it's the
weird
same
how
in my dreams
strong.
every time, and I've probably flown like 1,000 times in my dreams now.
Yeah,
They're
it's
like,
crazy how strong that feeling is in your dream because you feel like you've done it.
right. But you know what I can't do in my dreams is run really fast ever.
What would be your super weakness?
Cotton candy.
I can dig it.
It would be
I can
really
dig
distracting.
it. What turns you on, either creatively, spiritually, emotionally?
Dubstep actually. It gets
Really?
my creative juices flowing, whether it's to focus and write some things out. I paint to dubstep. It's got a good beat, and usually the words are good enough, talking about things that are not serious enough that you have a good time.
Right. It's interesting. I find myself not able to work when I have words going in my head. So it's interesting to say the words that aren't really like cohesive
Yeah.
thoughts or sentences that might intrude or anything like that.
When I was in college, I actually always used to study to ambient music.
Mm-hmm.
There was like this great iTunes ambient station, and all the ambient music has like driving beats but no words kind of thing. So it was so great. You'd be like, yeah, I'm really feeling this jam. And you just like feel your tunnel vision go in because there's
Right.
no words to distract you.
Interesting. Interesting. I might have to look some of that up. What turns you off?
Assholes.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Fair
There's
enough.
a lot of them in LA.
I'd imagine so. And there's the worst kind too, the people that pretend they aren't assholes, but are totally assholes.
You usually find them driving in their vehicles most commonly. That is like their home territory.
The closest representation they will actually have to being inside of their own penis,
Oh yeah.
as it turns out. What other talent, other than the ones you've clearly been gifted with, would you like to have?
Gosh, I really suck at parkour. Speaking of parkour, I would love to be good at parkour.
Yeah.
That's like Superman shit, like Spidey does it. And
My worry about that, I dislocated my shoulder
oh
a
no.
while, like back in high school wrestling and stuff like that, and I had to get reconstructive surgery. I already worry about like reaching behind me to grab something because I feel that tenseness.
Right.
I just don't know that I could actually physically put that much faith in myself that my body would actually hold up to that stress. It like if you have a motorcycle crash, you're like, oh, I don't know if I can get back on the motorcycle. I don't know if I can hold it the same way again.
Right. I could see that for sure. That's unfortunate.
What advice would you give to your 13-year-old self?
Mom and dad actually have your best interests at heart.
That's a really good one. I like that a lot. And so, what is your favorite curse word? You have the chance here to modify it a little bit if you want to.
Maybe fucking fuck.
Okay. No, you're just going to double down.
Yeah.
I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Where would you one day like to live?
One day like to live?
Yeah.
I'm dying to get back actually to the first place I lived in LA. It's an area of town called Silver Lake.
Mm-hmm.
So
What was special about that?
it was just the coolest little neighborhood. It's like 10 minutes outside of Hollywood, so kind of your drive in isn't that bad. The houses are gorgeous. They're almost all on like a hillside. I was fortunate enough to live on one that was at the top of the hillside, and you just looked all down over the next valley before the next hill, and it was gorgeous. The people were nice. There were tons of cool little bars and shops, and the dog park was close, and you could walk or ride your bike, and it had like a smaller town community feel, but yet you were so close to everything.
Right. You still had the cityscape within viewing distance, so that way you didn't feel completely disconnected.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
I mean, the only thing you're far from at that point is the beach.
I like it. Yeah, that sounds really, really nice.
Yeah.
I like that a lot. So, last choice here, or excuse me, last question here. If you had a choice, how long would it take you to respawn after you died?
5 seconds. Is that long enough? Hopefully they're going by
I love that question. I really do. It's one of my favorites. See, you would be amazed at how many people like. Some people kind of question the intrinsic existentialism of it. They're like, well, why would you come back? I mean, is there any reason to come? And most people are just like, no, immediately.
Yeah, I mean, if you have the ability to respawn, might as well make it quick because like otherwise, like, what are you doing out there? You know. But I guess
agree.
that would be maybe you'd find that out the first time, and then you'd be like, I need to wait like an hour before I respawn. Like it's so cool out there.
I mean, you never know. Flying out around with the death cam, you never know what you might see. You might want to gather some intel before you come back, and then you can win the lottery real quick.
Exactly. If you could adjust your respawn throughout your life, like that would be cool.
Right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that brings us to the end of our show here. I want to thank my special guest, Barrett, for being here today. Is there anything you'd like to plug before we finish out?
Just look out for 17 in Life Jailbait on Netflix, December 31st.
All right. And there's a graphic novel with that as well.
There is. The graphic novel is available online. I know soon it will be out on Amazon also and somewhere else that I forget. But
it's okay. Google it. What was the name of it again?
17 in Life Jailbait. All
right, ladies and gentlemen, you can find Barrett at Barrett Perlman on Twitter, BarrettPerlman.com. You've been watching this on youtube.com/TimLeftwich. My name is Tim Leftwich. You can find the audio version of this episode, as well as all of the other episodes that I've done on SoundCloud.com/TimLeftwich. And as always, ladies and gentlemen, we'll see you next time.